The moment Lena brought the spoon to her lips, she already felt it. Not the taste, not yet. It was something else. A quiet instinct tightening in her chest. Her mother-in-law was watching too closely, smiling too carefully, waiting. The gravy touched Lena's tongue and everything inside her went cold. Bitter, metallic, wrong. 7 months pregnant, sitting at a table full of her husband's perfect family, and she knew, with terrifying clarity, that someone had just tried to poison her. What she didn't know yet was why, or how long this had been happening before tonight. Welcome to today's story. If you enjoy emotional drama and shocking twists, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. And before we begin, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. 3 hours earlier, Lena had stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting a dress she didn't like and didn't choose. It hugged her stomach too tightly. Her mother-in-law Diane had sent it 2 days ago. Something elegant, she had said. Our family appreciates presentation. Lena had smiled when she opened the box, thanked her. She didn't say no. She hadn't said no to a lot of things since she married Ethan. Ready? Ethan called from downstairs. His voice was warm, easy, familiar. That made it worse. Lena grabbed her coat, one hand resting on her belly. The baby shifted slightly, a soft movement that grounded her, reminded her what mattered. I'm coming, she said. The Hartman house was already glowing when they arrived. Lights everywhere, big windows, perfect decorations. It looked like a magazine cover for Thanksgiving. Inside, it felt colder. Diane greeted them at the door with a kiss in the air and a hand that lingered just a second too long on Lena's arm. There she is, Diane said. My grandchild is getting so big. Not your baby. Not even our baby. Lena smiled anyway. She had learned how to survive these moments. Let them pass. Don't react. Don't give Diane anything to use later. Dinner was set like always. Long table, expensive china. Everyone in their place. Ethan's brother, his wife, a couple of aunts, all polite, all watching. Lena sat down slowly, adjusting the chair under her weight. Her back ached. Her feet were swollen. She hadn't slept well in days. No one asked how she felt. Diane stood at the head of the table, serving everything herself. I made something special tonight, she said lightly, just for Lena. That alone should have been strange. In 3 years, Diane had never made anything just for her. The gravy boat was placed directly in front of Lena's plate, dark, thick, still steaming. I looked up what pregnant women need, Diane added. Extra nutrients. You have to take care of the baby properly. Lena caught the way she said it again. The baby. Not her. Never her. Ethan reached for her hand to the table, squeezed it. You okay? He whispered. She nodded. She didn't trust her voice, because something already felt off. Not logical, not clear, just off. She picked up at the spoon. The table quieted for half a second, too quiet. Then she took the bite, and everything snapped into focus. That taste. Sharp under the herbs. A chemical edge she hadn't experienced in years, but her body remembered before her mind did. Training didn't disappear. It lived somewhere deeper. And right now, it was screaming. Lena swallowed carefully. She forced her face to stay calm. Across the table, Diane was watching. Not like a mother, not like family. Like someone waiting for a result. Lena took another small bite, then she placed the spoon down. How is it? Diane asked. Her voice was soft. Too soft, delicious, Lena said. The lie burned worse than the taste. Diane smiled wider, satisfied. Lena's hand moved instinctively to her stomach. The baby shifted again, alive, still safe. But I'm sorry, Lena said, standing slowly. I need the restroom. A few polite chuckles. Someone made a joke about pregnancy. No one stopped her. No one followed. She walked down the hallway without rushing. Step by step, normal, calm. The moment the bathroom door closed behind her, everything changed. She locked it, turned the faucet on, and spat everything into the sink, once, twice. Again, her hands trembled now. She grabbed a paper towel, wiped her tongue, tried to clear the taste. It didn't go away. It stayed, lingering, real. Lena looked up at her reflection, pale, eyes wide, breathing too fast, 7 months pregnant, standing alone in her husband's family home, and realizing something she could not unsee. Her mother-in-law had just served her poison. She pressed both hands against the counter, tried to think, tried to be rational. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe it was something else. Maybe no, her instincts had kept her alive in worse places than this. They weren't wrong now. Her gaze dropped to the sink, to the faint residue still clinging to the porcelain, then back to her own eyes in the mirror, and a colder thought settled in. If this was intentional, then tonight wasn't the beginning. It was just the first time she noticed. And that meant something far worse had already been happening. Long before she ever took that bite. Lena stayed in the bathroom longer than she should have. Long enough for someone to notice. Long enough for the silence at the table to shift into quiet suspicion. She rinsed her mouth again. Forced her breathing to settle. The mirror didn't lie. She still looked shaken. Pale, not just from pregnancy, from fear. She pressed her palms against the cold marble counter. Think, not panic, not yet. She had done this before, different situations, different threats. But the rule was always the same. You don't react without proof. You survive first, then you act. Lena reached into her purse. Her fingers moved on instinct. A small resealable bag, a napkin. She wiped a trace from her tongue, the inside of her cheek. Not perfect, but something. It would have to be enough. She sealed it, tucked it deep into her purse. When she walked back to the dining room, her steps were steady, controlled, like nothing had happened. Conversation resumed the moment she sat down, too quickly, too smooth, like everyone had been waiting for her to return so they could continue pretending. Diane glanced at her plate, counting, measuring. Lena saw it now, the small movements, the way her eyes flicked to the food, the way her smile tightened just slightly when Lena hadn't eaten more. "How are you feeling?" Diane asked. Her tone sounded concerned, but there was something underneath it, something sharper. "Fine," Lena said. "Just tired. That's normal," Diane replied. "Pregnancy can affect a woman's judgment. Emotions get overwhelming." There it was, subtle, planting a seed. Lena felt it land. Ethan squeezed her hand again under the table, this time firmer. "You didn't eat much," he said quietly. "You need to eat," he insisted. "For the baby, not for you. For the baby, always for the baby." Lena forced a small smile. "I will later." Diane leaned back slightly in her chair, watching the exchange, satisfied. The rest of the dinner blurred together, voices, laughter, plates being cleared, dessert offered and declined. Lena didn't touch anything else. Not the pie, not the coffee, not even the water, because now she knew. It wasn't just the gravy, it could be anything. The drive home was quiet, too quiet. Streetlights passed in steady rhythm across the windshield. Yellow, dark, yellow, dark. Ethan kept one hand on the wheel, the other rested near her, like he wanted to reach for her again. He didn't. "You were off tonight," he said finally. Lena stared out the window. "I said I was tired." It felt like more than that. She turned to him slowly, studied his face. The man she married, the man she had for child. "I'm fine, Ethan." He nodded, but it wasn't a real nod. It was the kind people gave when they didn't believe you, but didn't want to argue yet. "She was trying tonight," he said after a moment. "My mom." "You could see that, right?" Lena almost laughed. "Almost." She made something said quietly. "I noticed. You should give her some credit. She's not always easy, but she cares." Cares. The word sat wrong. Heavy. Like something that didn't belong in the same sentence. Lena turned back to the window. Did he really believe that, or did he need to believe that? Because the truth would break something he wasn't ready to face. Her hand moved to her stomach again. The baby shifted, alive, still safe. For now, that had to be enough. When they got home, Lena didn't go to bed. She waited until Ethan fell asleep, listened to his breathing even out. Then she slipped out of the room and went downstairs. The house felt different at night, quieter, honest. She sat at the kitchen table, her purse in front of her. The small bag inside it felt heavier than it should. Proof, or at least, the beginning of it. Her fingers hovered over her phone. There were only a few people she trusted enough for this. Fewer she could reach without raising questions. She unlocked the screen, scrolled, stopped on one name, a lab tech she used to work with, someone who owed her a favor, someone discreet. Lena hesitated, because once she made that call, everything would change. This wouldn't just be suspicion anymore. It would become a case. She exhaled slowly, then tapped the screen. And as the phone began to ring, one thought settled deep in her chest. If the test came back the way she feared, then she wasn't just living with a toxic mother-in-law. She was living inside something much darker, and she had no idea how far it went. Lena didn't sleep. She lay in bed, eyes open, listening to the silence of the house. Every small sound felt louder than usual. The heater turning on, the floor settling. Ethan shifting beside her in his sleep. Normal things, but nothing felt normal anymore. At 3 in the morning, her phone buzzed softly on the nightstand. One message from Daniel. "Got your sample. I'll run a quick screen first thing. Don't eat or drink anything from that house again." Lena stared at the words. Not if, not maybe, don't. Her throat tightened. She turned her head slowly and looked at Ethan. His face was relaxed, peaceful, completely unaware or pretending to be. That thought came fast, too fast. She pushed it down. Not yet. By morning, she had already decided how she would act. Careful, quiet, observing no accusations, no panic, because once she said it out loud, she couldn't take it back. Ethan was already dressed when she came downstairs, coffee in hand, tie slightly loose like always. "You okay?" he asked. "You didn't sleep." "Just thinking," she said. "About what?" Lena hesitated for half a second. "About the baby." It wasn't a lie. He softened immediately, that same instinct. "Protect the child. Always the child. We'll figure everything out," he said. "You don't have to carry everything alone." The words should have comforted her. They didn't. Because last night, when it mattered, he hadn't stood beside her. He had stood beside his mother. "I'm going to stop by my mom's later," Ethan added casually. "She wants to drop off some things for the baby. Clothes, I think." Lena felt something tighten in her chest. "No," she said. The word came out sharper than she intended. Ethan blinked. "What?" "I don't want anything from her right now." He frowned. "That's a bit much, Lena. I'm serious." "She's trying to help. She's trying to control," Lena said quietly. The room went still. Ethan set his cup down. "Where is this coming from?" She looked at him. Really looked this time. "I need space from her. That's not how families work." There it was, not concern. Expectation. Pressure. "Then maybe something's wrong with how this family works," Lena replied. His jaw tightened. "You're overreacting." The word landed harder than anything else he had said. Overreacting. It sounded so familiar, so easy, so dismissive. Lena felt something shift inside her. Not anger, not yet. Clarity. "I'm not going over there," she said. "And I don't want her here." Ethan shook his head. "You can't just cut my mom out because you had a bad feeling about dinner." A bad feeling. That's what he reduced it to. Not fear, not danger, not what she knew she had tasted, just a feeling. Lena didn't argue anymore. There was no point, because he had already chosen where he stood. "I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon," she said instead. "Routine checkup? I can come." "No, I'll go alone." Another small silence. Then he nodded. "Okay." But something in his eyes changed. Suspicion. Distance. She saw it. And it told her something important. She wasn't the only one starting to question things. By noon, Lena was sitting in her car outside a small medical lab Daniel trusted. Not a hospital, not official, quiet, discreet. She kept her purse close, one hand resting over it like it was something fragile or dangerous. Her phone buzzed again. "Daniel," she answered immediately. "I ran the initial screen," he said. No greeting, no hesitation, just facts. Lena's grip tightened on the phone, and not long, but enough to make her heart drop. "You were right to be careful," he said, her breath caught. "What did you find?" Another pause. "This one heavier. There's something in that sample that should not be in food." The world outside the windshield blurred for a second. Cars passing, people walking, everything normal, everything wrong. "What is it?" she whispered. Daniel exhaled slowly. "I need to confirm before I say it out loud." Lena closed her eyes. Because she already knew. She just needed someone else to say it. And when he finally did, there would be no more doubt. Only truth. And whatever came after it. Lena didn't go home right away. She sat in the car, engine off, hands still on the steering wheel, long after the call ended. The silence felt heavier now, not empty. Confirmed. Something was in the food. Not a mistake, not bad seasoning. Something placed there, deliberately. Her phone buzzed again, a short message from Daniel. "Give me a few hours." Lena stared at it, then locked her phone and leaned her head back against the seat. For a moment she let herself feel it, not fear, not panic, anger, quiet, controlled, building. Because someone had tried to harm her and her child. And the worst part, they had done it at a family table, smiling, calling it love. By the time she got home, Ethan's car was already in the driveway. That stopped her. He was supposed to be at work. Lena stepped inside slowly. The house felt different again. Not quiet this time, occupied. Voices low. She froze just inside the hallway. "She's not stable right now." Ethan's voice soft, controlled, careful. Lena didn't move. "You didn't see her last night," he continued. "She barely ate. She was acting paranoid, saying she didn't want to come back." It's not a pause. Then Diane. Calm, measured. "She's under a lot of pressure, sweetheart. Pregnancy can do that. Hormones. Stress. It changes how a woman thinks." Lena felt her stomach drop. Not because of the words, because of how familiar they sounded, like something rehearsed. "She's talking about cutting me out completely," Diane went on. "For you, for the baby. The baby, always the baby. Never her." Ethan exhaled. "I know." Another pause. Then, quieter, "What do we do?" That question harder than anything else. Not what is happening. Not is she okay. What do we do? Like she was a problem. Something to manage. Diane didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was softer, almost gentle. "We take care of her. That's what family does. We make sure she rests. Maybe talk to someone, a specialist." Lena's fingers curled slightly against the wall. A specialist. She knew exactly what that meant. A record, a diagnosis, something that could be used later. She needs stability, Diane continued, and right now, she's not thinking clearly. You have to protect your child, Ethan. That's your responsibility. Protect your child. From her. The shift was slow, subtle, but it was happening. Ethan didn't argue, told Lena everything. I don't want things to get worse, he said. They won't, Diane replied smoothly. Not if we handle this early. Handle, like she was a situation, not a person. Lena stepped back quietly before they could hear her. Her heart was pounding now. Faster, harder, not from fear, from clarity. This wasn't just about one dinner. This was a plan, a narrative, and she had just heard the beginning of it. She walked out of the house again, calm, silent, like she had never been there, back into her car. Her hands shook this time, not uncontrollably, just enough to remind her what was at stake. They weren't just trying to hurt her. They were preparing to erase her, make her unreliable, unstable, unfit. She looked down at her phone, at Daniel's message, at the proof that was coming. And for the first time since Thanksgiving, Lena stopped hoping she was wrong. Because now she understood something much worse. If they were already planning to discredit her, then the poison wasn't their only move. It was just the beginning. Lena didn't go back inside, she drove. No destination at first, just distance. From the house, from their voices, from the version of her life that had just cracked open in the hallway. Her hands steadied on the wheel as the city blurred past. Think, not react. That was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. Her phone rang, Daniel. She pulled into an empty parking lot before answering. I confirmed it, he said. No buildup, no hesitation. Lena closed her eyes. What is it? Ethylene glycol. The words landed heavy. Antifreeze. Her fingers tightened around the phone. How much? Not trace contamination. A real dose, enough to cause serious harm if you'd eaten more. Her breath went shallow. And the baby? A pause. Then quieter, more careful. It could have caused a miscarriage. Maybe worse, depending on exposure. Lena pressed her hand against her stomach. The baby moved, alive. Still there. I good, Daniel said. That probably saved you. Saved you, the phrase echoed. Listen, he added, you need to document everything. Dates, symptoms, conversations. If this turns legal, you'll need a clear record. Legal. That made it real in a different way. Not just fear, not just instinct. Evidence, can you send me the report? She asked. I'll send a preliminary summary, full lab write-up later. But Lena, this is serious. I know, no, he said. Firmer now, I mean it. You should consider getting out of that house. Lena didn't answer right away, because leaving wasn't simple. Not with a marriage, not with shared finances, not with a baby on the way. Not when the people involved were already building a story against her. I'll handle it, she said finally. Daniel didn't sound convinced. Be careful. She ended the call, sat there for a long moment, then opened her phone again, not to Ethan, not to Diane, to someone else, a lawyer. She didn't call yet, but she saved the number to favorites. That alone felt like crossing a line. By the time she got back home, Diane's car was gone. Ethan was in the living room, sitting, waiting. He stood the moment she walked in. Where did you go? Out. Lena set her bag down slowly. I needed air. He studied her face, searching. For what? For clarity. The word hung between them. Ethan exhaled. Frustrated now. Mom told me you left earlier. Without saying anything, I didn't feel like staying. You walked out of your own house. Lena met his eyes. No. I walked out of a conversation about me. That didn't include me. That hit. He looked away for a second, then back. You weren't supposed to hear that. Exactly. That was the problem. What were you planning to do, Ethan? She asked quietly. Nothing. We were just talking about getting me evaluated. His jaw tightened. It's not like that. Then explain it. He hesitated. And in that hesitation, Lena saw it. Doubt. But not about his mother. About her. You've been acting different, he said, distant. Suspicious. You're making accusations without proof. Lena reached into her bag. Slow, deliberate. Pulled out her phone. Oh, page message, Shen, then held it out. I have proof. Ethan didn't take it right away. When he did, his expression changed. Confusion first, then disbelief, then something else, something darker. This doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense. My mom wouldn't. Stop. The word cut clean, sharp, final. For the first time, Lena didn't sound unsure. She sounded certain. She put poison in my food, Lena said. And you're still standing here trying to explain it away. Ethan shook his head, backing up slightly like the words themselves were too much. There has to be another explanation. There isn't. You're jumping to conclusions. I'm finally seeing clearly. Silence. Heavy. Then Ethan spoke again. But colder. If you really believe that, then maybe you shouldn't be here right now. The words landed slowly. But when they did, they hit harder than anything else so far. Not concern, not protection, removal. Lena felt it, the shift. Not just his doubt, his decision. And in that moment, something inside her settled. Cold, certain, because now she knew. She wasn't just fighting his mother anymore. She was standing alone, inside a house that was no longer hers. And if she stayed any longer, she might not get another chance to walk out. Lena didn't argue, not this time. She stood there for a few seconds after Ethan's words settled in the air, let them sink in fully, let herself feel exactly what they meant. You shouldn't be here, not concern, not confusion. A quiet removal. She nodded once, slow, controlled. Okay, that was all she said. Ethan looked caught off guard, like he had expected resistance. He got none of that. I didn't mean he started. You did, Lena said softly. And then she turned, no drama, no raised voice, just clarity. Upstairs, the bedroom felt unfamiliar, like she was stepping into a place that already belonged to someone else. She didn't pack everything, just what mattered: documents, medical records, her ID, a few changes of clothes, the prenatal vitamins she had bought herself, not the ones Diane insisted on sending over every month. That detail hit her differently now, too differently. Her movements were efficient, quiet, focused. This wasn't running away. This was leaving before she was pushed out in a way she couldn't control. When she came back downstairs, Ethan was still in the same spot. Watching. Where are you going? He asked. Away from here? For how long? I don't know yet. He rubbed his face. No, she said. What extreme is staying somewhere I'm not safe? He flinched at that. You're safe here.
I was poisoned in your family's house.
That hasn't been proven. It has. She cut in, sharper now. You just don't want to accept it. Silence again, heavy. Then Ethan's voice dropped. You're making this into something bigger than it is. Lena stared at him. For a second, she almost didn't recognize him, because this wasn't confusion anymore. It was denial, active, chosen, and that hurt more than anything else. I'm making it into exactly what it is, she said. You're the one shrinking it so you don't have to deal with it. His jaw tightened. Where are you even going to go? A hotel. For now, that's not stable. You're pregnant. I'm aware. The words came out flat, not defensive. Just done. He took a step toward her. Lena, listen. Let's slow this down. Let's talk to someone. A doctor, a counselor. There it is again. What? That plan? He blinked. I heard you earlier, she said. You and your mom. His face changed instantly. A flicker, guilt, fast, but real. Lena saw it, and that was enough. You were already deciding what I am, she continued. Unstable, emotional, not thinking clearly. That's not what. That's exactly what it is. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Do you understand what that means? She asked. He didn't answer. It means you were ready to let her define me. Instead of protecting me. That landed hard. For the first time, Ethan didn't have an immediate response. Because there wasn't one. Lena adjusted the strap of her bag on her shoulder. I needed you, she said, quieter now. Last night, today. Just to listen, just to not dismiss me. A small pause. You didn't. His eyes softened slightly, regret creeping in. But it was too late for that. I'm not choosing between you and my mom, he said. Lena nodded. I know. And that was the truth. She walked to the door, opened it. Cold air rushed in, fresh, real. For the first time in days, she felt like she could breathe. Call me when you're ready to see what's actually happening, she said without turning back. Then she stepped outside. The door closed behind her, quiet, final. But as she reached her car, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered, Lena Carter? Yes. This is Dr. Ellis from County General. Her chest tightened. I'm calling because we received a request for your medical records from your husband. Lena froze, and a preliminary mental health evaluation referral was attached. Silence, cold, sharp, and then Ellis continued. It was marked urgent. Lena's grip tightened on the phone, because now it was clear. They weren't just doubting her anymore. They had already started building a case against her. And this time, they weren't waiting. Lena didn't wait. By the time the sun came up the next morning, she had already spoken to a lawyer. Not dramatic, not rushed, just careful. Documented every message, every call, every lab result Daniel sent over that night. The preliminary report alone was enough to raise serious concern, enough to make what happened no longer just a family issue. It was criminal. Her lawyer didn't overpromise, didn't dramatize. But one sentence stayed with her. If someone is trying to establish you as mentally unfit while there is evidence of potential poisoning, you need to protect yourself immediately. So she did. She filed for a temporary separation. Not out of anger, out of necessity. The request was simple. She needed distance, safety, medical autonomy, and most importantly, control over decisions related to her pregnancy. Ethan didn't fight it at first. That was the strangest part. He called twice, left one voicemail. said he just wanted to talk things through. But Lena had learned something important. Talking only worked when both people were willing to face the truth. And Ethan wasn't there yet. 2 days later, the full lab report came in. Clear, undeniable, ethylene glycol, ingested in measurable quantity. No ambiguity, her lawyer escalated immediately. Filed a formal report, requested an investigation. From that point on, it stopped being private. Diane didn't call, not once. But her silence wasn't empty, it moved in other ways. Lena received a notice that Ethan had followed through on the mental health referral. It didn't go far. The documentation she provided shut it down quickly. But the attempt was recorded. And that mattered because it showed intent, not control. The investigation took weeks, long enough for doubt to settle in other people, neighbors, friends, extended family. Stories started shifting. At first, Lena was overreacting. Then it became something serious must have happened. And eventually, people stopped defending Diane altogether because evidence doesn't argue, it just waits. Diane was never arrested. Not immediately. There wasn't enough for criminal charges beyond reasonable doubt, not yet. But she lost something more important, credibility, the kind that takes decades to build and one moment to fracture. Her name started appearing in conversations differently, quietly, carefully, but enough. Ethan came to see Lena in person 3 weeks later. He looked tired, different, like something inside him had finally cracked. He said, "Lena didn't answer right away. I should have believed you." She nodded once. No anger, no softness, just truth. He swallowed. "I didn't think she was capable of that. That's the problem," Lena said quietly. "You didn't think. You assumed." He looked down. "I was trying to keep everything together. And in doing that, you let me fall apart." That landed. He didn't defend himself this time. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he said. "I'm not focused on forgiveness right now." "Then what are you focused on?" Lena placed a hand on her stomach. Safety, for her. He followed her gaze. For the first time, his expression shifted fully. Not defensive. "Just what happens now?" he asked. "We move forward," Lena said. But not the same way. The divorce wasn't loud. No courtroom drama. No screaming. Just paperwork. Agreements. Ethan didn't fight custody. Didn't argue over terms. He signed what needed to be signed. Because by then, he understood what he had already lost. Lena gave birth 2 months later. A girl. Healthy. Strong. Everything she had fought for. The hospital room was quiet that night. No grand gestures. No big speeches. Just Lena sitting there, holding her daughter, watching her breathe, steady, safe. That was enough. Weeks later, Lena moved into a smaller apartment, nothing fancy. But hers. No tension in the walls. No second-guessing every word. No watching eyes. Just space. Real space. Sometimes at night she thought about that dinner, that moment, the taste, the look on Diane's face, and the silence that followed. It still hurt. But it didn't control her anymore. Because she had chosen something different. She had chosen herself, and that changed everything. Ethan saw his daughter regularly. He tried. Not perfectly, but consistently. That mattered, because growth wasn't instant. It was slow, earned. And Lena no longer waited for it. She just watched, from a distance, with boundaries, with clarity. One evening, months later, Lena sat at her kitchen table, her daughter asleep in the next room. A simple meal in front of her. Nothing special, no pressure, no performance. She took a bite, paused, then smiled. Because for the first time in a long time, there was nothing hidden in it. No control, no fear, just food, just peace. And that was everything. If you've ever felt something was wrong and no one believed you, trust that feeling. And if this story stayed with you, tell me what part hit you the hardest.